All right, Hedy Fry, you have a private member's bill that
Yes.
you've put forward on cyberbullying, and it's still waiting to be heard by the Justice Committee. Tell us what it is, and if you want to see kids go to jail for online bullying.
Well, actually, my bill doesn't criminalize children, which is what I think people say the bill does. It doesn't. What it does is it looks at the existing provisions of the criminal code, which deals with criminal harassment, which deals with libel and false messaging and uttering threats. And the thing is, what we're saying is that right now that applies to every medium, including telephones, letters, anything that you can do once you've gotten into that criminal area. And it will just say we need to be able to apply it to electronic medium as well. That's what my bill says. It doesn't create new existing criminalization. It just says apply it to all medium, all forms of medium, and computers being one of them. And what we're talking about here is a fine line, or the line that you step across from just calling people names and pushing people and doing that kind of thing, or saying things about people, where you get into criminal areas that are clearly defined, like criminal harassment. And we do know that the RCMP are investigating Amanda Todd's suicide, mainly because this had crossed that fine line. Now, kids need to learn that not just kids, by the way, bullying is not just a childhood thing. I think we need to recognize that this goes on in the workplace, and that with cyberbullying, it follows you throughout your life. You never get away from it. It's going to be there on Google after you die, no matter what you do.
But do you need more? Do you need more? You talk about the RCMP. They already have something to deal with bullying called deal.org, right? One of their websites for youth.
Exactly.
What more? I mean, Mr. Morin's idea is to coordinate all these strategies, not just to, and I'll get Kenneth Bergen and Mr. Morin back on this, not just to deal with all this separately, but a coordinated federal strategy. Would the Liberals support that?
Absolutely, we will. But we talk about a comprehensive strategy: public awareness and education, prevention, support systems, harm reduction, programs to teach in the schools, and the federal government has a real role to play in that. But we also need to look at consequences when it crosses over from bullying into criminal activity. And I think young people need to know that, and we need to add electronic bullying. So there needs to be consequences to what is being done. I mean, if you look at any public health, and this is a public health issue, if we had a number of people dying in the numbers, and we see young people committing suicide and or reacting to cyberbullying, we would call a public health strategy. We'd call a public health emergency. And there are very clear public health lines that you do. And those are the public health lines. It's a coordinated response. And we need to do that, but the federal government has to step up to the bar.
Let me ask a response. Mr. Morin, what do you make of the Fed's response saying there's already programs in place, there's committees in place, and the local level, they'll deal with this? How would you respond to Kenneth Bergen on that?
The strategy is not working. Well, I'm glad there are current studies being concluded right now in the Senate. And I hope that we can bring the results and those recommendations into my special nonpartisan committee, where each party could make sure that the final draft of this national strategy on bullying prevention will be based on common ground and put partisanship aside for the good of the children. That's pretty much my answer.
But Kenneth Bergen, I mean, part of what he's saying is they need coordination on this, not, groups applying for money, but there's lots of studies, strategies, and groups that need funding. Does it need a national coordination, for example, to elevate best practices in order to make sure that these are effectively dealt with?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I think, again, we want to wait and hear what comes out of these studies and move forward. I think to say it's not working, it's such a serious problem. I don't think any one of us wants to reduce this problem to it's working or it's not working. As long as there's one individual, one child who feels that their only option is suicide, which, by the way, I think that's something we need to talk about as well. Suicide is never an option. Suicide should never be an option. There should always be alternatives and ways that young people feel that they can go to someone, that they can get help. So, I think, Evan, what we want to do, again, we want to hear from these reports. We want to hear the recommendations. We are all on the same page. There is no doubt we are all on the same page. Our government has put money towards it, and we want to see a change. We want to see kids feel safe. We want to know that they feel safe to go to school, and they're not scared to go to school because of bullying.
Evan, I think Mr. Hibley said it. For every child and anyone who commits suicide or responds with anger and takes a gun and rushes into a classroom, we need to say that it isn't working. We need to move forward. Those kids can't wait anymore. The waiting is over. All the studies have been done. Let's get together, put a concrete plan of action, coordinated with provinces and schools and everyone. And the feds need to do that now.
The studies aren't over, and I think that we have 2 studies. I think it would be regressive and probably not very wise to not even listen or hear what the recommendations are, because we could very well move backwards. So they are going to be coming forward very quickly. We're committed to this. We're committed to we put funding towards it. I think that, instead of criticizing, this really is an issue that we're working together.
But
and rather than
there's
pointing
different
fingers,
strategies. I got 10 seconds, Mr. Roy, as it's your motion. Go ahead, last word.
I think that if the federal government, the provincial governments, the school boards, the teachers, the parents, all work together on this, we can make a difference in the lives of the children, and we can save some lives.
All right, Candace Bergen, Danny Morin, and Hedy Fry, I appreciate your time on a pretty sensitive, very sensitive subject. Thanks so much.
Thank you.